you might have some things out there on social media you wish you didn't post, and they're out there and they're on an account that you can't get rid of. And the thing that I've found is the most important thing you can do with your business when you're starting is proactive reputation management.
So you have a passion for fitness and the desire to start your own business, but launching a massively successful fitness business is extremely complex. The systems, operations, hiring, firing, coaching, sales, and marketing are critical to success. Where do you even start? This show will give you the answers. Here is Bedros and Bryce Henson, your hosts of the Fitness Franchise Podcast, a show dedicated to helping fitness entrepreneurs launch and grow successful gyms.
Welcome back to the Fitness Franchise Podcast, and today we have another incredible episode, as today's guest is another dear friend of mine who is also an SEO and online reputation branding consultant and a marketing expert working in the industry for over a decade. Now, one of his first clients was Bedros, my co-host, who helped rank his personal trainer marketing keywords and YouTube videos. Now, Rick's primary focus on reputation management and visibility branding online, he has helped companies position themselves as industry leaders in specific niches and establish positive press online to outrank any negative media of their past. Now, currently, he is putting most of his efforts around as the head marketer within a new cryptocurrency community called Bees.social, where they are set to change the world with M2 Cash, a new digital currency. Rick Porter, my friend, welcome to the Fitness Franchise Podcast show.
Thank you for having me, Bryce. That was a stunning intro.
Quite the intro, man. You're a very well-accomplished guy, and we're going to talk a lot about today. But before we get into that, why don't you share with the audience your backstory? How did you get to where you are today?
All right. Well, it's actually the reason I got to where I am today, where things kind of went through Bedros, is when I was growing up. I was very into sports, athletics, so I got into wrestling, and from there, like when I was a teenager, when I was 13, I got one of those plastic weight sets for my birthday and started lifting weights. So then come graduating high school, I was a state champ in wrestling, and for superlatives, this was important then, I got best body. So that was like a big deal, yeah. So I don't think they're allowed to have that now in today's world, or any superlatives. But anyway, so from there then, I really wasn't sure what I wanted to do. So I did what everyone was doing, go to college. And all I did there was party and not do any schoolwork. So I looked at myself and said, this isn't me. I've got to make a change now. I joined the Marines. I enlisted and spent 4 years as an infantry Marine stationed in Hawaii. So that wasn't too bad itself. And when I got out, I knew, okay, I helped a lot of people in my platoon to get in better shape, to get stronger and more muscle. So I thought, you know what, I'll be a personal trainer. So that was my first job. I went out, got a personal training job at a world gym. And that I found pretty boring because you're just counting reps. And that was before boot camp workouts were around and you could do a group and do different things. But I saw the sales guys there, making money. And I said, I can do that. So I got into selling memberships, did that for a couple of years, was really good. But then that can only go so far. I was like, I want to make a 6-figure income. You know, I didn't have a college degree. So this is back like 20 years ago. You can do that, but you got to hustle. So I got into sales, then that led to corporate recruiting. And then that led to, where I am now. And how I got into this business, it's interesting. It started in 2008, when the banking crisis. My dad actually, he was in his 60s and he was like a CEO type head level guy, and he lost his job because of that. And he invested all this time in his life into work and wasn't really going to have a fair return from that. And he got into, he started researching online, got into the marketing online, and he told me about it. He said, oh, you could put up like a website and sell things and make money. And I'm like, yeah, I don't know. And so I said, well, you know what? Let me try and help you with that, because I was good at writing. So I just started writing articles every day, and he'd post them up, and then he's making some money on some shared revenue sites. And then, so my first thing was I'm going to do a review on a like a workout program. And unfortunately, the workout program I picked was at the time probably one of the lowest converting there was. But what I took out of that is I worked 100 hours, like working up, like writing articles, doing videos, and I didn't make a single penny. But what I got from that was an education of figuring stuff out. So I always look back at that, because then what happened next, I said, I'm going to pick a different product. Look at boot camp workouts seem to be getting really popular. I looked online and saw Craig Ballantyne, didn't know who he was. He had a boot camp workout program. So I whipped up a site on that. And within a couple months, it was making like $5,000 a month in commission just off of his products. And
so just to clarify, Rick, were you doing affiliate marketing then? Or
yeah,
SEO
that was affiliate marketing. So 100% commission, just, driving traffic to an offer and making commission off of it. So that was like my big start was Craig, because then he took notice of me, and then he introduced me to Bedros. And then from Bedros, everything just like really took off everywhere.
Yeah, well, we're going to talk about that definitely here in a second. Now, kind of going back to your intro with Craig, what platform were you using to drive traffic? Was that SEO or a different platform from a marketing perspective?
Back then, you could do something called article marketing too, where you could sign up for something called ezines.com, and you could write articles and they'd post them, and then those would show up in search engines, and then you drive traffic. So I started with that, and then got into doing it on my own site, and then found that YouTube was a really great way to drive some traffic. And I just started learning everything there was. I just consumed it and tested it, and I came up with my own things. Because one thing I found right from the start is Google's going to say this and this doesn't work, and it's really because they don't want you to do it. So they scare a lot of people into being a lot less aggressive than they could be. So I went against the grain on that, and I found that what I was doing, what they said was not to do, was actually something that could actually work really well. So
it was working.
Yeah, and they do the same thing now. I swear their half disinformation campaign. They give you like a big piece of truth, but then they leave some stuff out, and then they might lie about a little bit of stuff. You know, so
Okay.
they keep everybody off the scent of how the algorithm works.
And specifically, you're talking about Google.
Yeah,
right?
Google. Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting.
The Google overlords. Yeah.
So now I kind of want to, dive into that a little bit. Before I do, you kind of gave you the backstory, and Craig, is certainly a good friend of mine, a business coach, and certainly Bedros, we share, him in common as a dear friend. He's the host of the show. So after you kind of made that intro from Craig to Bedros, being that you've produced for Craig, walk us through that journey. How did you get started? I would imagine you did some SEO work for his blog, PT Power. Talk to us a little bit about that transition and what that looked like working with Bedros.
Well, with Bedros, it was, it was funny. I was just getting started, and I remember one of the questions I asked Craig in the email when I didn't know who Bedros was. I said, "Do you think this guy has enough money to like pay for my services?" And I think he just wrote back, "Yeah, I think he can afford it." And I was really cheap too, so I was like doing like $500 a month packages and whatnot, but. I didn't want to talk to someone that couldn't pay that. So it was just kind of a funny question, thinking back to, who he is and where he is now. But I started working on his ptpower.com, and I got all the personal trainer and fitness marketing terms like up in the #1 spot or the top 3. And then for video on YouTube, I was ranking all his videos just right on Google and in YouTube. And I remember one thing that was like a big kind of a success story from a client is he called me on a Saturday one day. And I remember I was at the pool with my family, and I went out to take the call. And because usually if I get a call from a client on a weekend, I think, oh no, what'd I do? What did I break? Or what's showing up online that shouldn't? But he said, hey, I had this call from it was from Spike TV to get on to Gym Rescue. And he said, they're looking at me. They said they were like looking up fitness marketing expert and YouTube, and then they came across all my videos. So, and then as you know, he went on and did that show, which was pretty cool. But it was really, what meant a lot to me was him calling me and giving me recognition that something I did to help him, helped him get that opportunity. And that was very cool.
Well, to acknowledge you and for a quick second there, Rick, and just so you know, obviously you've been working for a very long time, even before I have, but, now being his vice president, kind of working in the boards with him when, we kind of reenacted our partnership within, doing SEO work for fitbodybootcamp.com, as well as, our franchise site, driving leads to grow our brand in addition to TrueLean. He turns to me, he's like, hey, Rick Porter is the best SEO guy in the world. Give this guy a call and let's go. So, not only to give you acknowledgement, but that's basically the reputation that you have around Bedros in our circle of influence.
Yeah, that's really awesome. And I remember when I started working with you, we had a very bumpy start.
Oh yeah,
due to a Wikipedia page out there, but that's a whole story in itself. And I actually tell clients just to really avoid certain things online if you don't control the page 100%, because you don't control what goes on there then.
Well, why don't you elaborate a little bit more? I mean, you don't have to go through the full granularity, but I think that's a big learning lesson for our audience who are interested in, being business owners, being gym owners. They certainly need SEO. So can you share a little bit of the wisdom?
I think it's really important, this lesson, because I've had situations in reputation management where they want their Wikipedia page pushed down, like off the page. And I'll give you an example, and people would always think, because they're encouraged, get a Wikipedia page for your brand or your name or whatever, because that link back to your site is so much authority and it helps it rank. Mm-hmm. That may be true, but what happens is, you have competitors, right? People that don't like you. If something newsworthy happens and it's bad, they make sure it goes on that page and you can't get it off there. And it links back to the news referencing it, which pushes that news piece up even higher. So you're constantly in this battle then of, okay, let's get that Wikipedia down because it's got some damaging info. And, Google and Wikipedia, they're not forgiving. They're just going to hold on to it forever. So I'll give you a good example of a Wikipedia page. Let's say you're out looking for, you want to open a sandwich franchise and you look at Subway. You go to their page and you're going to spend a lot of time reading about Jared, who had some issues and hurt their branding. So, that's something that they can't take off of there. It's going to be there forever. So that's why I say avoid Wikipedia if you can. Because it can hurt you in the long run.
Yeah, and I laugh about Jared, and certainly, out of context, it's not funny. That's obviously a tragic situation, but certainly a good valuable learning lesson. So kind of, drilling in a little bit more and not only specifically Wikipedia, but just kind of big picture, again, just reinforcing that audience. They're, interested in opening a fitness business. So certainly SEO, Google marketing is critical to your success, being Google such a player. Would love for you to take some time. And of course, certainly want to balance not going too technical.
I won't go too technical. I'm going to go to the very basic of what every person should do to start off. And I'm talking even for your name, let's say you're graduating college, getting ready. You might have some things out there on social media you wish you didn't post, and they're out there and they're on an account that you can't get rid of, but you want to set up, because everyone's Googling, people now to see, we found this. So that's where I got into reputation management. And the thing that I've found is the most important thing you can do with your business when you're starting is proactive reputation management, because I've made a living the last 10 years off reactive reputation management. There's this bad news article up here at number 2 now. And because they didn't have a strong foundation, now we're working to try to rank things over that so that falls. So this is what a good start looks like. Okay, so you have your name, you want to set up every social media profile there is, because you can get those to rank on page one. So if it's a brand or your personal name, you get a LinkedIn, a Facebook, an Instagram, Pinterest, YouTube, get a Vimeo channel. So, and that list kind of grows as time goes on, but those are some of the main ones. And I always would call that the social bubble of trust. So then what you have is all these social accounts, and they're linking back to your main website. So that helps your main website to rank higher. And then all these social accounts start to come up and show up on page one also. So now, say a negative thing comes out in the news, it's already being buffered by all these other things. But unfortunately, a lot of companies haven't done that from the start. They just didn't have anyone within that was setting those things up. And now a negative news article lands at you Google their brand and there's their website at one, but number two is a damaging article. And that can really hurt business, because if it's anything in the top three, you got to get out of there, because that's where people click. But that's just the thing, is be proactive. And if you do have an established business and haven't done that yet, please start to do that, because it's just it's very important to control what people see on page one, rather than let Google have total control over that.
Yeah, definitely. And that's probably just a good strategy for business and life, is being proactive versus reactive. But Rick, to drill into that a little bit more, say someone, brand new business owner is kind of creating all these social media pages, which is a great start, right? To create that social media bubble. How about though posting content? Because that's, as we know, content's the name of the game. If someone adds these sites like Pinterest and Vimeo, and maybe, some second or third tertiary sites that they're not posting on, is there a negative disadvantage there? Because that's a big question that we receive a lot is, all right, I have these social media accounts, but where do I create all this content? How do I do it? Because it can be overwhelming.
Yeah, it really is. So first off, I like to tell a person or business, establish okay, what is your primary niche, right? Like maybe your weight loss, or you've got a gym in a certain place. So the first thing is just to establish yourself as an authority in the very basic things in your niche, like, weight loss, or, whatever it may be. So then the easiest thing is create some YouTube videos. And I've had clients go as far as just, they do a few on their phone, or they've gotten a whole studio and camera crew and banged out like 50 videos over the course of a few weeks, and then populated the channel. So the first thing is just establishing your authority in the information that you're giving, so that's the content. Or how do people know that you know anything if you don't have any content about those things? So whether it be, and there's tools you can go online, like what are people asking? And you can get ideas from sites online. You can look at Google Trends, but there's tools that'll help kind of guide you into, all right, here's where we should make some content, because this is what people are looking for and asking. Once you have those YouTube videos up, it can be very easy. I know how, all right, you've got all these social accounts, but what people don't realize is they can automate so much of the syndication. So you can have, so I'll give you a name of a site. It's called ifttt.org, or it's .com. Yeah, I think it's .com. Sorry, ifttt.com. Okay. Now, it used to be 100% free, but now you only have 3 modules, and then you have to pay to upgrade. But if you're just running your own business, it's cheap. It's only like $7 a month or something like that. But here's what it does, okay? There's formulas in there. So the IFTTT stands for if this, then that. So you log into all your social accounts, you go in here and you say, okay, if a new YouTube video is uploaded to my channel, then post it to Twitter, post it to Pinterest, post it to a blogger blog, WordPress, Evernote. I mean, it'll do it all automatically. And you can even get more complex than that. Okay, if I upload a YouTube, post it to Blogger, And then if I have a blogger blog, then post that to Pinterest and post that to WordPress and post that to the others. So you can set up a flow of content syndication. And that's what I always do first with a client, because then you can actually run automated content. So then we do that a lot. Like for an entrepreneur, I'll take the RSS feed from Forbes or entrepreneur.com and create a mix of feeds of content. And then you connect that into like a Twitter or a Facebook. Okay, I want it posted every 3 hours, every 2 hours, every 4 hours. Now you've got content streaming through from an authority site, and it's keeping things fresh and updated, and some people come in and start making comments. So there's different ways. You don't have to always make your own content. You can share other people's content to create content on your pages and social media.
But would it be fair to say that probably doing both, using a strategy like you just laid out, but also creating content was a force multiplier? Yeah.
I'll tell you, like on Twitter, maybe for some people on Twitter, you see they've got a Twitter feed and you can see their latest tweets. That's not easy to get, and it happens when you're an authority, but not just an authority posting your own content. Because a lot of people, all they do on Twitter is, okay, here's my video, here's this, here. It's just self-promotion. But if you want to be influential in those social media platforms, you have to have a rounder base. Whereas, there's other experts. And as you're pointing to these experts, the whole social media, Google conglomeration here, they see you're now associating with that kind of circle of people. And it forms kind of, you become an entity in Google, where what I mean by that is, like, think of all like the connections you have and the words that are always associated with you. It kind of forms an avatar of who you are and who they think you're an authority of. So It's harder and harder to fake it. But if you just post some good content, make some of your own, but then share really, really good content through your Twitter and Facebook. And that actually helps a lot. And some people are stuck into still just being overly promotional and just, I'm afraid if I post somebody else's stuff, they're going to go and become a customer or something. But it's not right. It's not really like that. You just want good. If you want to be an authority, there's other authorities too, and you can show that you're kind of a curator. Okay, so let's call it that. It's content curation. So you become a curator of the best health and fitness information on the entire web. And that's a good way to do it.
Got it. And that's so valuable because, at least from my world, right, consulting a bunch of gym owners across the country and world, I would say, there's a baseline knowledge that content creation is really important, but the how to do it, the what platforms to do it, it's certainly complex, but that's a big pain point. So I appreciate you providing some visibility there. Now, flipping the question back to you, though, I gave you a pain point or obstacle from the clients that I have in terms of marketing. What would you say, from your perspective, when you're signing on a new client, is the biggest obstacles they have in their business? Or like some big, mistakes that, that are very common that you see that you really want to be able to provide some guidance on how to overcome?
Okay. Yeah. Usually what I'll see is it's a branding and reputation problem where they just have not done the right things on their YouTube channel or their YouTube. So the example would be, people like to put the video up and just think, all right, everyone's going to know what this is about. But you really have to write a detailed description. You have to put in a title, and not like a clickbaity title, but a title that's really descriptive. Like, this is weight loss in, Detroit or whatever. Mm-hmm. You want to include in text, what those things are. So writing really good descriptions. People don't like to do that because it's time consuming, but you really should write 400 words to 800 words, and then use that outbound link to your social media, because those words are still being crawled by Google, who then uses that to rank those videos because they own YouTube also. So if you want visibility, and this is what I'm always telling them, is if you want visibility, you have to you can't be invisible. You've got to also let people know who you are and what you are. And they've always had to go back and redo YouTube channels because they haven't done anything. They're like, why don't I get any traffic? Well, no one knows what this video is about, so Google doesn't even show it. So you want to show up. YouTube is the second largest search engine in the world right now. So it's very, very valuable if you're just starting your business, because you can start getting traffic there right away. Whereas starting your own website, it can take a bit of a ramp up time. So, yeah.
So 2 things on that, and just for the audience that maybe is not familiar with the terminology clickbaity, what do you mean by that?
Well, sometimes it's on YouTube, they do this a lot, is check out the greatest, this is going to shock you so much. A lot of wordiness to make, using hyperbole, to make it sound more than it really is. Mm-hmm. But then you don't gain trust that way as that's what a lot of fitness YouTubers really shouldn't do that if you're running a business. But a lot of people do that on the famous YouTubers that do just the videos on whatever. But if you're doing a serious business, you want to put serious titles. You want to put in the title what that's about and not use hyperbole like this. You're going to, be shocked to the core after you watch this video, because that's what so much of it becomes there. And then it's just, that's not really very valuable. And I don't even click on clickbait anymore, because I usually see that as a sign that the person might not have good content to begin with.
Yeah. And there's a lack of trust there too. So
yeah.
So diving in a little bit more YouTube, because obviously being a big juggernaut, it's the second biggest search engine owned by Google. Is that correct?
That's correct.
So also owned by Google, but giving a really tactical example for the audience so they can really understand from their position. You mentioned that creating that social media bubble with your name, YouTube channel, start creating content. But what if there's a gym owner as an example, and we'll just use you in your neck of the woods since you're from near Providence, Rhode Island, that starts Providence, Rhode Island Fit Body Boot Camp, right?
Yep.
But they're also want to create some content in their own name. So is your recommendation to create 2 channels, one in their name, and then the secondary in the name of their business, or what does that look like? Well,
is it the same content? If it's all fitness content, then they could keep the same channel. Now, if they're going into something like, I want to teach entrepreneurs on how to do this and this and that and coaching, then you would set up a different channel with a different theme. But if because you can use the authority, you don't want to have too many channels, because once you start getting that channel going, you have subscribers. That adds power and ranking power to your channel. So then if you go off and start another fitness channel where you're kind of dividing up some of what you've already built over here, because every time you put out a new YouTube video, your subscribers get a notice in their email, and then some of them click on it. Well, all those clicks come in from the email. Then that's actually a signal to YouTube and Google that, hey, people are really coming to this and they're coming back to the channel. And that's important, having those subscribers, because they can then help get a video, get that first 100 views or something like that. So when you branch out, you could be starting over again, is what I'm saying.
Got it. So what you're saying, though, is if it's the same content, stick with one channel. But of course, if you branch off to different types of content, maybe from fitness, and then all of a sudden you're going to transition to leadership or some other topic, then at that point only is when you basically branch out with other social media sites.
Yeah, you do that because you've built a certain audience on one thing that's not the same audience as what you're building next.
Yeah, but then going back and drilling down again, a little bit more granularity. Say, gym owner just really has one area of expertise, which is coaching, health, nutrition, fitness, etc. Is it best if they put that YouTube channel in their name or their business's name?
Well, what's their primary revenue source? Is it getting new gym memberships, or being an expert, or because they're an expert, people sign up for their gym? I guess you kind of look like, what's their sales process? How are they making money? What is their goal in putting this content up? So I'd have to know a little more though. But if they were like a fitness expert and a gym owner, I would just put it all in one, because people looking for fitness advice, even though your gym is maybe in California and they're in Rhode Island, they're going to see that it gets views on your channel. You can still offer great content to people all over the world, and that'll actually help your channel that's over in California rank higher. So you can do different strategies on that. Yeah.
Yeah. And what I'm hearing from that, Rick, and maybe provide some coaching as well, is what you're really saying is what's the intent and what's really the desired outcome you're looking for. If you're looking to grow your gym, then take that content and create the channel in your gym's name. If you're looking to basically brand yourself as a personal fitness coach where you could, grab clients from across the country and world, maybe online space, then it's probably best that you put it in your own name.
Right.
That's really what where you're trying to drive clients for is really kind of what I'm unpacking.
Because if you do want to be like a fitness expert around the world, the rest of your social media, you don't want it to be like a Providence Fit Body Bootcamp Facebook page or something like that.
Yep.
Because that instantly, when someone sees that from another place, even though you might have the awesome content on there, they're already thinking location. Oh, this doesn't apply to me for some reason.
Yeah, there's a disconnect there.
Yeah, the disconnect, exactly.
Okay. Well, what else, Rick, man? You are just a wealth of knowledge, as I mentioned before, just to rate that point. According to the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Bedros Coolin, you are the best SEO marketer on the planet. So give us some other knowledge bombs that, really a potential gym owner who's interested in launching a business or any business that for matter, it could be, in the fitness space or it could be other franchising concept or any business, what would be some golden nuggets and value bombs that they should really pay attention to and act on in order to grow their, presence from a marketing perspective?
Well, one of the first things I learned, and if you're doing affiliate marketing, always find a product that converts first. Don't find something that you really love, because sometimes there's a big disconnect there, and that's how things happened when I got started in affiliate marketing, where I really liked this one weight loss, like the 6-pack abs program, but it didn't have a good sales page, so it didn't convert. And actually, I don't know if you ever heard of the truth about 6-pack abs with Mike Geary. I wish I had done that one, because that year was the highest converting product on ClickBank. But I chose something else because I didn't know any better. So all that traffic going there would never convert. So it's always, you got to make sure that if you're selling something online, and this is for the people out there that maybe are doing affiliate marketing or online type things, is if you're sending traffic somewhere, make sure it's going to convert somehow. So one of the first things you should do then too is with your business, get everybody on a list, because you will get traffic.
What type of list?
An email marketing list. So like using something like Aweber, or I don't know, there's all kinds of email autoresponders out there.
Yep.
So you get them because, and I'll tell you why this is so important and why my first success with doing the bootcamp workouts affiliate site was, you get traffic, right? Coming maybe from YouTube, maybe from Google. They come to your site and they're like, oh, that's a nice site. I like their product. And then they go away and you never see them again. But if you're giving away like a free product, like a good PDF, and you hook them in, they put their name in, now you have them on a list. Now that one person that you've worked so hard to get from YouTube or Google, you get to continue to market to them over and over. And then those are the ones that convert. So what I learned right in the beginning was, don't waste your traffic, because you're going to get traffic. It might not be a lot in the beginning, but try and capture that traffic so that you can talk to them again and again, and then they start to trust you more. And that's what happened. I remember then having this big list, and then Craig has this, like a discount on his bootcamp workouts, and I send out an email. And like a half hour later, I had made $400. I'm like, wow, all I did was send an email out, and then it kept happening, like later in the day, as more people opened it. And I learned, wow, I was sending all these people to my site, and you have these banners there and you want them to click on them and then buy it, but they just don't convert as much that way. So you capture that person, and then you send marketing to them, and they'll still buy that product maybe a month down the road or 3 months down the road. They're just not ready yet. So big lesson is like, capture your traffic.
Yeah, capture your traffic. Bedros actually explained this to me back in 2012 when I started with the brand. He's like, the difference between capturing your traffic and not is the difference between handing out your business card to someone, which then, that goes in the ethers, right? Maybe they take action, maybe they don't, versus grabbing their business card, having their contact information, and then being able to follow up with them, right?
Exactly. It's basic sales. I mean, people, they like to get online and hope it's just a kind of a push button thing. I put up a site and I make a lot of money, and you can make some money, but if you really want to make a lot of money, you have to still keep the salesperson hat on and be like a marketer. And like, you have that business card, you can call that guy, you know, a week later, a month later, 3 months later. I mean, that's the first thing you learn in outside sales. What I got in is, you know, I'm going door to door to businesses selling telecom back then, and you're just getting the business card and getting some information. And then you're making the phone calls, and then you just keep cycling that process, and then you have a funnel. Now you have some appointments, and then some of those close in sales. So yeah, it's the same way with the website. Someone's coming to your website, it's a first introduction. If you're just letting them walk out the door, then you're not gonna do well. You got to capture them somehow.
Totally. All right, there's two other things I want to unpack from what you just kind of articulated with the affiliate marketing, and you touched on that. For maybe our audience who are not familiar with the affiliate marketing, can you really just kind of color in the details there so that they have some better insight?
Yeah, affiliate marketing is awesome for both the buyer and the seller. So let's say you've created a great product, but you don't have a distribution system. You know, okay, I've got this great product I can sell online, but you don't have, you know, it's not going to go out to Walmart or whatever, but you can become you can put it into like something like ClickBank, or there's different ones. And then affiliates, people that want to sell good products, come in there and they look and say, hey, this looks good. And if I sell it, I make, 50% and a 20, and then a recurring commission each month on the subscription. Yeah. So then you start attracting people that might have a list of 100,000 people, that might have a website that has 1 million visits every month. So you can create a product, and if you're good, but then you got to sell. You still have to sell, because you have to sell to those affiliates. Yeah, like why should you sell this? Well, I have the best converting one. I mean, you send traffic, it converts at 25%, and there's a retention rate of 2 years on the subscription. So if you can make a great product, but if you can't sell the affiliates, then you're not going to have any reach. And Craig was really good at that with his Craig Ballantyne with his turbulence training products. I mean, he was awesome. I remember a person being on a subscription, you know, making $9 a month off, like he had this monthly thing, and I swear they were on it for like 6 years. And probably just didn't know how to cancel. So finally, when that credit card expired, that subscription stopped, and I stopped making that $9 a month. So, you know, it's pretty. It's funny, but you can if you can sell, you can get out there and reach those people, and then they can tell you too, like, hey, this is what I need. I need you to be able to convert, or maybe. Like, I'm not someone that wants to always have a list. So if you're familiar with BioTrust, I did a lot of marketing with them for a couple of years, and just I would send the traffic to them. And they would put it in a list, and I probably made close to over $200,000 in commission over a couple of years, just sending all the traffic to them. But in hindsight, that was stupid, because now they have the list and are still making money and I don't see anything. But
the value, though, is, to your point, is actually always be building your list.
Yeah.
And on that note, actually, Rick, and now, you know, certainly email's been a juggernaut, and certainly that's still a bit big of bread and butter. But, you know, now texting has also come to play. So what's your recommendation on that? Because I know some other marketers are now creating, in addition to their email list, texting lists. Is that something that you'd advise?
Really depends. I mean, I hate getting those texts. I start blocking the numbers. I mean, I get a lot of automated text messages like that. But depending on how aggressive you are, and I would say if you're in a local market, though, that could be really, really valuable, depending on how you're doing it. I know there's different ways to capture that. People are using Facebook, or actually with the company I'm working with now, there's a Facebook, created a Facebook chatbot where if somebody wanted like a certain news update on how much the price of Ethereum is or something, or they would get an update on their phone. So we started capturing all the phone numbers through that, and by offering a valuable like tool that no one else was giving. So it has brought more people into the business, but you really got to find people. Like when I look at the whole internet marketing thing, almost everything is its own like separate job to be an expert at. Like content creation, you've got your sales copy. There's people that are just really, really good at writing sales copy. And then there's people like traffic and SEO, like me. I can't write sales copy. And I know that I could, but now I have to go out on some tangent and study for 20, 30, 40 hours and learn it. Do I really need to do that? Or can I just pay somebody really good to write me a good sales copy? And that's one of the things I learned from Bedros too, is like you want to take your core strength, you know, which is really what makes you special. And then 80% of everything else, you're just outsourcing and giving to other people, even if they're not as good as you at doing it. And that's the hardest thing in the world for me to do, is because I get things back and they're not like the way I'd want them. So I still struggle with that 80-20 type thing that he teaches, but I started doing it a lot more the last couple of years, and it's really helped.
Yeah, it's just, you know, about focusing on your zone of genius, because there's so many things. Business is complex, and, you know, that's certainly the value of, you know, syncing up with experts, with, you know, creating, you know, attracting coaches, the value of a franchise system. So that kind of goes all into it. And then to your point about like the online marketing space, there's so much there's so much to it. Similar to, you know, the fitness industry. Do you want to do weight loss? Do you want to do nutrition coaching? Do you want to do Olympic weightlifting? Do you want to do Zumba? I mean, there's just a lot of different plethora of options within the fitness space. But just how we teach here at Fit Body Bootcamp, our franchise, is really go long and deep on one, which ours is weight loss, and that way you can be the best at it and get the best results, and, you know, similar to the strategy that you just laid out. So yeah, I mean, you take your superpower, as another one of my clients says too, and you make that like your real focus, and you have the people around you, you know, doing other things. Or if you read the book Think and Grow Rich, the main guy, I don't know if it was Carnegie, who would surround himself with experts in everything else. So you don't have to be the expert at something. You can surround yourself with those experts, and they're still part of your machine, where you're the main cog in the wheel, but you've got you know, everything else working at 100% for you. Yeah. Well, speaking of which, and kind of, you know, dovetailing a little bit deeper, you know, if our audience who are interested in opening a business, and speaking of experts, what should they look for in basically partnering with an SEO expert like yourself, or a brand management or a reputation management expert like yourself? And I'm kind of asking you a little bit to toot your own horn, but aside from that, give some value on what really the biggest things to look for when partnering with a marketing expert.
Boy, this is a real tough one, because, okay, you've got two sides. You've got the corporate America SEO type companies, and then you've got the, on the other side, the overseas people that, you know, can live off of like 1/20th of the income we have to here. So it's so hard, because some of those overseas are really, really good, but some of them, they put all these things on their sales pages, and they make it look like, oh, we're going to be like the best thing ever and do this and that. And since you don't have knowledge in that industry, you just go, okay, they must know what they're talking about.
Right.
So you can end up like with a cheap service that's terrible. But on the flip side, in corporate America, you've got these big companies, and hey, they've got a real location. They've got, you know, employees on site. The costs can end up being like 10, 15 times more. And so what do you do there? And they're not always like, they're always usually doing things by the book. And what I mean by that is, if Google says don't do this, they're not touching that. Where I'm always more performance oriented, like I've got to make sure that these things happen. Where a lot of those places that you have, the big companies, they're very procedural. Like, okay, for 5,000, you get this, you're going to get 5 articles, and we'll promote this, and we're going to do this. And you go, okay, what's that going to do? Well, your rankings should rise up. And they always say, but it's, you know, it could take 6 months. So there's always this blurry thing where, how do you know when if nothing's happening? They go, well, it's going to take 3 to 6 months for you to see results. It doesn't have to take 3 to 6 months, but it's a great cop out for people that are in this type of industry to just be able to say, hey, sorry, it's going to take more time. And I say that only when it is going to take more time on some of the reputation issues where something's at number 2 and we want to hop 5 things over it. Well, basically, okay, I've got to make 5 things rank number 2 to be powerful enough to outrank that one negative. So some things take time, but it makes it very difficult because what I do then is I use a lot of those overseas people, and because you can find some good ones on Fiverr.com, on Legit, which is LEGIIT.com. And you can see the reviews and how they're doing, but I'm constantly testing vendors because if it's something that I'm really good at, but I don't have time to do it anymore, I got to find somebody that's at least halfway decent that can do it. So I'm always testing all kinds of people, spending a lot on that, and sometimes getting ripped off, and then you just never use them again. But it's a difficult world. I don't know how I could give good advice to somebody starting out as far as SEO, because I don't trust a lot of them out there. I just happen to be kind of in the underground group, I guess you could say. We're not the ones that have big buildings and radio commercials. We're the ones like underground that get huge results and nobody knows about them, because we're just, every single client I've ever had was through referral. Starting from Craig to Bedros to introduce me to Frank Kern and Dean Graziosi, some other marketers, and then it just like spread from there. And that's why no one's ever like, well, I've never heard of you before. Well, that's good. I don't want anyone to really hear about me because then, the online community can start looking under and saying, oh, what can we do here? Let's try to flag some of his stuff and, have bad things happen because he's got success. So I like to just stay invisible.
Yeah, and unfortunately, that's a little bit the downside of human nature at times, from that perspective. Yeah. But what I heard from you, and granted, Rick, and I'll include myself as well, we lead with integrity, we lead with high morals, and ethics, but at the same token, you have to be aggressive. And certainly, I think, as we're shooting this interview in May of 2021, as we look back in 2020, as we're still kind of finishing the afterglow of COVID, I think it's both fair to say the companies that didn't sync up with marketers, that were not aggressive, are the ones that don't have businesses anymore. So that's really a big call to action is you got to be ethical, you got to be, do things that, the right thing, but you have to be aggressive in order to be successful. Would that be, fair to say from your perspective?
You got to be very aggressive because there are others that are being aggressive, but I can tell you where the biggest opportunity in SEO is for a business is in the local side. Like being a fitness center in like a certain city. It's still really easy to rank for all like the toughest terms in most cities. Depending on the population, then the budget goes up a little more. But I mean, you can do really well if you're doing YouTubes and everything. You can start taking over your whole local area and being very visible. So there's still but if you want to be the weight loss guru of America, that's a whole different story because there's somebody people are 20 years ahead of you already with their SEO, with their sites. But there's always new and up and coming. But the local side of business and local SEO is where there's a lot of opportunity.
Copy. All right. Well, transitioning, Rick, we still have a little bit more time left, but you kind of referred to a little bit of your clients, et cetera. So, kind of take us down that path. What are your typical, who's your typical target demographic or avatar, if you will, for your clients? And again, what kind of services do you provide them to help grow their businesses? Well,
I'll tell you, I've always, the last few years, only wanted people that were really serious, like entrepreneurs, and understood the online part a bit, because some people have some unrealistic expectations of what they're going to get or what they're going to get for their money. And believe me, the types of things that I do, the costs of it are just going higher and higher and higher. So I've started to back out of the client side because I can make more money just using what I know to promote things that I have more of a vested interest in. So I've actually, for this year, I've cut back to just 2 clients and this other company that I'm working with where I have a vested interest in them doing well. And by the end of the year, I'd like to be out of clients more so and just working on this one thing. So, and I remember on a podcast last year, seeing Bedros saying, okay, I'm not going to be doing all these coaching programs anymore because I'm going to focus on the fitness franchise because that's my big salami right there. That's the big thing that's going to make me, multi-millions or whatever. So I saw that and it really resonated with me, and I was like, you know what, that's never going to happen with me just having clients. And I need to really get into something. And then unfortunately, I did get into something. And then going back, I had another client where I'm putting up their 45, 50 videos. They're a business broker. And one of them is, it's funny, 'cause the guy's been on TV before too. And I'm watching the video and it's all about, do you own a business or do you own a job? So he's going through and he's saying like, if you can't walk away for a week or two without being involved in it every day, then you own your own job. I'm going, yeah. And then I told them a week later, I said, hey, I'm not going to do this project anymore. I finished up on it and I still do work for them, but I said, all the work I'm doing, that's a good point. I said, the guy's name it's Robert Hirsch, and he's done all kinds of stuff. And but when I saw that video, I was like, darn it, I don't have a business, I have a job. So I started back. That was over a year ago, and I started backing away from client work.
Yeah, there's a book actually that our mastermind coaching group that myself and fellow VP named Matt Wilbur, who's been on the show, run, and we basically pour in and coach this group of awesome owners, and we have reading content. And one of the books that we're actually just finishing up is called The E-Myth by Michael Gerber, and it's all about that, owning your business and running a business instead of just basically owning a job. So very, very relevant to the topic that I've literally just been teaching on. So
yeah, and it really was kind of and I don't know how I didn't see it before. It's just you get kind of caught in this thing where you're making good money, so you're happy, like financially you've got enough. But you know what? If you're just owning your own job, then it's hard to make an exit. Where these business brokers like Robert Hirsch, they're teaching people that you want to have a machine that becomes an asset that you can then sell. And then that's where you can, in fact, the name of their company is Freedom Factory, and they're a business broker because they're trying to teach entrepreneurs how to do this so they can make an exit eventually and have freedom that they really want.
Copy that. So
Freedom Factory, they're a client still. The ones that made me rethink everything I'm doing. But I found I started getting into the cryptocurrency markets back in September, and was introduced to some people, and they needed some help with their online marketing, and they brought me in. I'm not the head marketer, but I'm one of the people in there that's leading a lot of the online marketing as far as the video promotion. And it's the website is bees. Like .social, like BEES, like a B, social. And what we are is we're a cryptocurrency educational community, and teaching people how to, we're going into this world of blockchain and all these things going into this system that people don't understand. And there's a huge opportunity where the financial markets are changing. So to make a long story short, what we are is we're like venture capital 3.0. Where venture capital, you go out and you find these, people that are going to put 100 million or whatever into your company and you start. Well, we don't get to be a part of that. But with bees.social, there's companies coming into the blockchain, crypto type space, and they want something like that. So we have a community where we're able to stake part of our capital into different projects. And then in return, you're earning like the crypto tokens of that project. So it's really exciting because we just want to help other people. And that comes down to then like just helping others to understand what it's at, helping them get set up with their wallet online and knowing what they're getting into. And then this cash, this M2 that just came out, this is really interesting now, and really the huge thing that we've been talking about and promoting is, across the world, there's so many people that are impoverished and they don't have an opportunity to mine like Bitcoin or Ethereum or something. It costs thousands of dollars just to do that, and electricity. However, over the last 3 years, they built their own blockchain on which is you can operate on a phone. So with these apps, people from around the world, they can go on and spend like 10 minutes a day mining cryptocurrency, and then they'll have enough to like feed their family. So this just launched a week ago. There's no owners. It's people that put it together, donated, put $50 million into a pool. That $50 million is locked forever. They'll never see that back. And that $50 million was to set the foundation and the price of a crypto and to give a pool that people could start mining from, like right now. Okay. So as people buy this crypto then too, instead of like Bitcoin, you buy Bitcoin and then Bitcoin goes up. The people really getting rich are the ones that have tons of money with it anyway. If you buy M2, the price of M2 goes up. Those people in other countries, they've got more money to work with for their family. So this is a social movement, and we're just beginning, but it's been really exciting and fun.
Where can our audience learn more about that?
Well, you can go on YouTube, Bees Social TV. If you just put that in YouTube search, it'll come up first, and or our website, bees.social. And there's we're actually, by the time this goes live in June, our new website should be up. But that's where people could reach out to me because I'm going to be teaching our people, and I have started already, how to do all these online things. So picture like if you had a gym and you were able to get everybody that had a membership to go back to their computer and put stuff out on Facebook and Twitter. You do have some of those people, but what if each person had a financial interest in the gym? You'd probably have a lot more of those people spreading it out on social media because they're hey, I'm making some money from this. And that's exactly how our thing is set up and how it's going to work and I'm going to be teaching like our hive or community how to do this, okay? When we have a video, okay, now we want people to like, subscribe, but some people go put it on Pinterest, go put it on a blogger blog, and then this grows. But these people in Bees Social who are staked into different things, maybe M2 or some of the projects, their portfolio goes up. So it's really cool where you can be part of something where you're part of a community, not a big insiders club, but a real community of people, and you're able to help people, but also start making money from that too. So,
yeah, that's awesome. And what was the website again? Just one more time.
Bees.social.
Bees.social. Awesome. All right, Rick. Well, this has been awesome. I still have a few minutes left before we kind of shift gears here, so I'm going to fire up the lightning round just so you can kind of provide some last-minute knowledge bombs to our audience. And shoot, man, I've been taking notes myself. I love these interviews, especially with such talented guys like you.
I feel under pressure, though. You call it lightning round, and I'm like, okay,
You'll be good.
I won't do it right. I won't be fast enough.
You'll be fine, man.
Okay.
First question. You're a passionate guy. What are you most passionate about today, and why?
Well, the thing I'm most passionate about today is helping other people. And that's part of what we're doing in this bees.social. But you find that you get a lot of your happiness from helping other people. Something we're trying to teach our kids too. I mean, everybody, they're like, there's a lot of depression and pain out there because people are focusing on themselves so much. But once you look outside and you start helping other people and doing things, you actually start to feel joy from the help that you're giving other people. And that's, I think almost everybody in Bees.social, that's kind of our thing too, is we're passionate about helping other people and making an impact, because that's truly what can bring you happiness. It's not like making more money and getting more stuff. I've found real happiness is by, really giving back.
Contribution.
And wait, on that note, I know this is lightning round, but it goes back to something I heard Craig and Bedros both say, that your income is directly proportional to the amount of people that you help. And that always stuck with me then too, because it's really true.
Yeah. Amen. All right, next up. Now, forget about you being the world's best SEO expert.
A lot of people would contest that, that's for sure.
Amen. Well, I appreciate the humility, but before you've received all the success that you've had today, kind of taking a look back at your younger self, what was the one big thing or obstacle in your way, and how'd you overcome it?
My biggest obstacle in the beginning was I was really shy, and I was not outgoing enough to go to talk to people, anything. And then I kind of got through that then after I went through the military, and all of a sudden I was an extrovert then and was able to get into sales. And if I had never done that, like, you can't really be an introvert and be calling CEOs and talking to them like you're the authority and selling them on something. So that was really big to go from introvert to extrovert. I'm still quiet, but it made one of the biggest impacts. And then the other thing that is still my biggest obstacle today is executive functioning. And that's people with ADD or ADHD. They have a hard time, really organizing things and grouping it. Like, I'll go, oh, this project, I'm working on it, I'm bored now. And then I go to another thing and another thing and another thing. Before you know it, it's the end of the day and you've completed nothing. Right. You've just got all these open books left that you never finished. And that's part of the executive functioning that is so hard for me, because you have to then block out a time and say, I am going to focus on this for 2 hours or until I complete that part of the project. And if I don't do that, I can go all day feeling like I'm working, but not accomplishing anything. And it's still hard.
Oh, yeah. Well, I think many probably of our audience can relate to that. That's certainly partly ingrained in human nature.
Yeah.
All right. 2 questions left. Leaders are readers, and you've certainly acquired a lot of knowledge over the years in terms of your expertise. And it could be specific to your expertise or just in general. But what would be an incredible book recommendation for Fitness Franchise Nation, and why?
This is the one I tell everybody. And guess who told me to read this book?
Probably B.
Yes. Cybernetics. Actually, my daughter's reading it right now. And that book is such a game changer to learn how your subconscious works, to learn how much power you really have to drive anything you want to do, and how you're limited by your own viewpoint on yourself. And it was just really, really, I always look at it now, there's this paragraph in there talking about you have a goal set up, and then it's like it's like a missile going to a target. It doesn't go straight there. It's making adjustments like this all along the way until it hits the target. And your subconscious can help you get there if you're really focused on that. And I found that is just true. I come across a lot of problems I have to solve online as far as how to outrank something. So this doesn't work, this doesn't work, this doesn't work, and then target. And it also goes back to Think and Grow Rich, or actually Bell, the guy, not Bell, but guy who invented the light bulb, when they interviewed
Edison.
him and said, well, what was it like to fail 1,200 times? And he said, I didn't. I found 1,200 ways that don't work. And that's exactly what my job is. I'm finding all the ways that don't work, and now I found one that works. And that's just
Awesome.
that persistence and charging forward.
Yeah, huge. All right, last question, and you've certainly provided so much value bombs to our audience today, but what would your one last piece of parting wisdom be for our audience to really better themselves, whether it be personally or professionally from a business perspective?
Well, never stop learning, always be educating. There's always somebody that's more of an authority than you are, no matter how good you think. You can always learn from somebody. So never stop learning and adjusting, especially like online, because things are changing so fast. You might have been a great blogger 10 years ago, but that doesn't work now. So you have to, if you're doing online marketing, the adaptation is like every year. There's different ways that you have to do things. So try to keep up with that, but that still focus on what your superpower is and not get too distracted by trying to do all those different things.
Yeah. Amen to that, Rick. Well, man, this has been awesome. Super appreciative of you. And before you go, just want to take a second to acknowledge you. We've been working together for the last few years now, and you're just a joy to work with, collaborate with.
Oh, thank you.
We have a lot of the same views in terms of business, life, politics, which we didn't hit, all sorts of stuff. And I just want to let you know I've learned a lot from you specifically, not only from marketing, SEO, but just in life in general. So I wanted to thank you so much for being on the show. I admire
That's
you
very
and
kind
applaud
of
you
you.
for that.
Thank you for that. That's nice.
Yeah, you're certainly welcome. Well, thanks again, and really appreciate your time, all right?
Okay, it was great. Thanks for having me on the show. Loved it. Thank you.
Thanks, Rick.